and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to you. You're watching Encounter. Today, we have a very special guest. She's come all the way from Isha Foundation in India. Her name is Mary Christine. A very warm welcome to you, and thank you for being here at the studios of the NBC.
Thank you, Roshan. This is a very warm welcome I've had on this island so far. It's been amazing.
For our viewers who don't know the Isha Foundation, many people will probably know Sadhguru,
Yes.
who is at the head of Isha Foundation, and you're a full-time volunteer at the Isha Foundation.
Since 2001, I jumped in 2001 after a very powerful experience of witnessing people's transformation when they started this journey. So it wasn't my own transformation, it was more of witnessing what happened to people when they tried these techniques, that I decided that this was worth dedicating my life and my time towards.
Well, what is more interesting about your story is that you're originally from Lebanon.
Lebanon, yes.
So how did you end up in India?
Well, it's very simple. We went through a lot of, I grew up in a war zone.
Of course.
I've seen the most terrible violence when I was a child, when I was a teenager, the kind of violence that makes you doubt in human goodness, that makes you doubt in human nature, that made me think that, I don't even want to have children into this world because it's so violent. And mostly my question was, on September 11th in 2001, on
the attacks on the World Trade Centers.
That dreadful day, I was sitting next to Sadhguru, and I witnessed the whole thing with him. We were in Cyprus. And I asked him one question. I said, why aren't we supposed to be the most evolved species on this planet? Why are we so violent? Why are we so destructive? So much hatred, so much violence, for what? He said, do you want to be part of the problem or part of the solution? Naturally, what kind of answer can you give to this? I said, I want to be part of the solution. So he said, come to India. And I went to India mostly out of curiosity to check up if there were other people like him, or was he the only one who was blissed out and joyful and loving like this. I went to the yoga center in India. There were only 30 people there. It was a very small center at the time. But I found people, human beings, who had dedicated their lives towards contributing to this planet's evolution. And that's why I stayed. It was a very different culture for me, a very smooth transition. It almost like it had to happen to me. But of course, family, friends, and all this did not understand why I would leave the comfort that I had in Lebanon, the lifestyle I had there, to go to India. They wouldn't understand.
Does that mean that you were seeking something better or higher after witnessing the war? You just mentioned that you even did not think of, probably getting married or having children because you wouldn't want your children to grow up in such an environment.
Violence, exactly.
So what happened then? After Cyprus, you just went to India?
No, it took a lot of thinking, a lot of time, because as I said, I was living in a cocoon of comfort. Despite the war, we were sheltered in so many ways. And the luxurious lifestyle I had, this is one thing my family never understood, that coming from such luxury, why would you choose to go and live in less comfortable conditions in India, in an ashram that too? They had all kinds of ideas of what an ashram is. But I wasn't consciously seeking. I didn't know I was seeking. The first time someone invited me to attend a lecture or an introduction to yoga with Sadhguru, they showed me a brochure with his photo on it. And I took one look at that paper with his photo, and I said, "See, come on, I don't need this stuff, I'm happy."
Who is this guy?
Yeah, and who's this guy? Because, you have all kinds of conclusions.
Of course.
I just dismissed it completely. Only the next year, Sadhguru came again to Lebanon, and then I had read a few books by then, like The Alchemist and Conversations with God. I had read these books, and then my mind was a little bit more open.
Normally people who seek, who want to grow spiritually, are people who have gone through very hard times, which in your case was war. But you also mentioned that you were also very comfortable in your life. Normally people who are comfortable, they just live their life and do not have time to ask questions outside the comfort zone. I mean,
Yes.
why would people do it? at the end of the day. But there's kind of a shift now that people are doing it in
Yes.
general.
Yes.
It's not even a segmentation of people.
Yeah.
How
There
did
is
that
more
transition
thirst.
happen to you?
It is only because my family offered me the comfort and the protection that I had in my life, a good education and a good, because I was fulfilled on so many basic levels that I was able to seek something more and to want to offer it to others. I could have very easily stayed in the comfort of my house, but when you taste something like this, when you realize that there is infinite joy and love in each one of us that we can tap into with just a little investment of time, it becomes like a necessity, an obligation that you have to stand up and share this. Even if you go to a restaurant and you taste something delicious, you would think, okay, I'm going to tell my friends about it.
And you will probably go again.
Yeah, but this is something much more essential than food, than society, than education, because without knowing who I am,
Can you tell that you know yourself better now?
it's a constant exploration. Of course, I have discovered a lot within myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to, share this with anyone. I have discovered a lot, but I've also discovered that I'm an idiot, that there
Please
is
don't say
so
that.
much more to discover that we don't even know how this body functions. It's so magnificent.
It's-
The creation, the way it is.
It's perfect.
It is so perfect and beautiful, and yet we don't even pay attention to it. When you were a child, when you were 5 years old, if you saw a butterfly, probably you still enjoy the butterfly's flight. But a child would jump around with the butterfly and it would fill him with joy. Just a small thing flying around. But now most people won't even notice it because now we think we know so much. Because of education, because of what the busy lifestyles we lead, we think that I know. But this I know is killing the joy of life for everyone.
So the more you know, the more you don't know.
Yeah.
So are you always on a constant upward learning curve? Yeah.
Constantly seeking. It's not always upward. Sometimes it's down. People think being on a spiritual path that it's always uphill, but it also brings up a lot of things from within, and you just have to enjoy the ride because it's a beautiful process.
You go with the flow. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing. You mentioned that after a year, Sadhguru had come again to Lebanon, and you had read a few books.
Yeah.
What was the trigger for you to go to India? Why the question? It's because it's a completely different world.
Yeah.
There's nothing similar. But did you still have some reserve within yourself, or were you determined that this is what I want to do?
I had so much reservations and concern, but that I didn't even plan it in terms of, I thought I would go within 2 years. I thought I'd work another 2 years in the hospital where I was working, and then I will decide maybe I'll plan for a summer holiday in India or something like this. Then it happened that a friend of mine who had also done the course came up and said, I'm going to India next week. And I said, okay, I'm coming with you. And I told my family I'm going to India for 2 years. I left my boyfriend and I quit my job. Everyone was very shocked, but still it wasn't something that, it was like a calling. More than a decision to move into a less comfortable lifestyle, it was more like a calling. I had to go and explore, mainly because I was very suspicious of the guru. I have to say this. The guru, my question was, doesn't he have enough clients in India? What's he doing in Lebanon? What does he want with this small little country in the middle of nowhere that's always causing trouble everywhere in the world,
That's probably where he's needed the most.
That is, but I didn't know this at the time.
Okay.
I was still thinking, what does he want from us?
Okay.
I was thinking, what's in it for him?
Of course.
Because of my mistrust from my conditioning of this whole war zone.
And the whole logical mind taking over.
Yes,
Which
yes.
probably explains there are legitimate questions.
Yes, there are.
So what happened when you went to India? You attended the first yoga course. You said there were only 30
I attended
people.
this in Lebanon.
In Lebanon.
In
What was the
Lebanon,
first
my
course
first
you did?
course was a 7-day program where we learned how to breathe in a specific way, how to use our breath to purify and energize our system. And these techniques made such a difference to me in my, I was very into sports. So if I was swimming or if I was skiing or doing whatever kind of sport, my lung capacity increased so dramatically that the challenges became less. At work, everything that I found difficult became much more easy. The traffic jam stopped bothering me. All kinds of benefits that I couldn't even grasp the speed at which they were happening. Of course, it took an investment of time. I had to dedicate 40 minutes a day to my yoga technique, but it delivered so much more that I stepped up to volunteer for one program, another program, and then I decided just seeing what people went through. From this, you know, on the first day they come, you know, they're like, okay, what, yoga?
What's in for it?
What's in it for us? And then from the shining faces they become on the last day of the program, just to witness this, I realized that if I work through, you know, my environmental path, or if I go as an activist, I will be able to do this much work. But if you work on human beings, really helping to transform human beings as I transform myself, then it's a much more effective way to work. It's the process itself that has been designed. You know, India is a culture that has explored mysticism, yoga to the core. They've had the time and the space. So these techniques are perfectly scientific, although they are subjective, but still they're scientific. If you put this and this and this together, you will get a result. Whoever does it, whether you like it, you don't like it, whether you enjoy it, you don't enjoy it. If you do the system, it will perform. It will deliver results.
For people who don't know much about the Isha Foundation, there's one very popular course which is called Inner Engineering. Can you tell us more about it?
Yes, so Inner Engineering is a 4-day journey. I don't like to call it a course or a program because it's truly a journey. People come for different reasons. Some out of curiosity, some because they have migraines, some because life has pushed them towards seeking. But it's a mix of explorations, questions. There is no philosophy, there is no teaching, there is no belief system. It's only that you learn the techniques, the breathing techniques, and you also get to explore your life in the most fun and profound way at the same time. Sadhguru has designed a beautiful cocktail that is not too serious, because nobody likes to sit seriously in a lecture and listen. So it's a mix of interactive discussions, meditations, and the Kriya. Kriya means an energy technique.
Of course.
So for 4 days, you witness people going through this journey, each one in their own way. Nobody has to do something that they're uncomfortable with. And they come out more radiant. And they come out with a practice, which is called Shambhavi. It's a Kriya. So 21 minutes they have to dedicate after the program. So it's not the program itself that causes everything. You have to do the practice for 30 minutes a day, and then you get the results.
And this is included in what you do every day for 40 minutes?
Yeah, I do a little bit more of practices, some advanced practices that we learn in the advanced programs.
Okay.
That gives me the zest, the enthusiasm to, you know, do whatever we're doing every day.
That's 40 minutes every day, every morning?
Me? Yeah. At least 2 hours. Yeah, I enjoy my yoga, you know, when I have time. Now, since coming to Mauritius, I'm a little distracted because the ocean is so appetizing, but it's still 2 hours of yoga for me. Either sitting or doing some Kriya or doing Hatha yoga. It's a mix of things.
Oh, fantastic. Well, the ocean here has a lot of good energy also.
Yes, yes, so it's so clean. It's so wonderful. You've kept your ocean really wonderfully clean.
When you mentioned 40 minutes of yoga, what does that include? So you mentioned breathing techniques?
Yes.
Postures?
A few preparatory asanas, because today...
Can you walk us through these 40 minutes?
Yes.
Well, unless if it's in the course, you cannot share, but what do you normally do in these 40? Do you do things before and after?
Yes, a few things before, so a few preparatory asanas that are possible for everyone, because we don't want to torture people with difficult asanas in the space of 4 days.
Asanas are postures
asanas
for our viewers.
Yes, physical postures. So for every position that your body takes, there is a certain impact to it, a certain impact on your consciousness. So if I sit like this, it's one asana. If I sit like this, it's another asana. So there's an infinite number of asanas that the body can take. But out of these infinite numbers, there's 48 basic postures. Out of these, the yogis have derived many more.
Of course.
But an asana is a posture, a yoga asana is a posture that allows you to elevate your consciousness. So a few steps to prepare, 3 asanas, very basic and easy, like Patangasana, you know, that allow people to sit in the posture they need to meditate for the Kriya.
Okay.
So the Kriya is the essential part, the fulcrum and the foundation of the whole
Which
program.
is the breathing techniques.
It is an energy technique that utilizes the breath to purify and energize the system.
Well, the breath gives you energy.
Yes.
It's because we're breathing all the time, we don't realize that
Yes.
that's our main source of energy.
Extremely the main and the most fundamental source of energy that we have, and we don't pay attention to it. How many people actually pay attention that now my breath is shallow, now my breath is deep, and for every thought, they say the breath and the mind
Regulates.
are very connected.
Yes.
For every thought that you generate, it changes the pattern of your breathing. You know this because
And
you've
the
been
heartbeat.
practicing. And the heartbeat, yes.
Oh, beautiful.
It's a fascinating science, and this is the lab. You know, your very body is your lab.
This is why they use a lot of breathing techniques to hopefully help people be more mindful, which is a
Yes.
very trendy word
Yes,
nowadays.
I know.
That, which is also partly true with the inner engineering journey also probably.
I haven't explored mindfulness. I know that my mind was my biggest enemy when I was 25 and earlier, before I discovered yoga. My mind, which is supposed to be a vehicle or a tool for me to improve my life, was my biggest enemy. It was noisy, uncontrollable. It created thoughts when I didn't want to, and no thoughts when I wanted to. So one of the first benefits for me of yoga is discovering that if I become a friend, if my mind becomes my friend rather than trying to control my mind, which is impossible, if I earn the trust and if I become more in touch with my mind, my emotions, then they become vehicles for me. I'm the driver. They're not driving me. So I put myself in the driver's seat and I decide what I want to think when I want to think. This is a big freedom that I didn't know before 24, before the yoga started.
So you started with the inner engineering course,
Yeah.
then you volunteered for a few courses because you really enjoyed...
Well, I did inner engineering and then the advanced program the next weekend
okay.
with Sadhguru also.
Okay.
And the third weekend he was offering Hatha yoga course, but I went skiing. I had enough of yoga for 2 weeks.
For our viewers, just to know that Hatha yoga is... so you have different types of yogas. You have vinyasa, you have... so vinyasa is a flow of postures, asanas. Hatha is very traditional, and you stay within the postures
Yes.
from 30 seconds to 2 minutes.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
right. What is it that you do now after 18 years?
18 years.
As a full-time volunteer at the Isha Foundation.
Oh my God. The thing is that because I saw the yoga center grow, I feel a sense of ownership. So I meddle with everything. Wherever I can help, I help. If there's some garbage to be picked up, I'll do that. If there's some work to be done in the publications team, I'll do that. So it's more of a sense of ownership that makes me really feel like wherever I can contribute, I will contribute. And this is one thing that amazes business people when they come to Sadhguru and they see, man, you got all these volunteers doing so much work. We are paying people and we can't get this much work out of them. What are you doing? And it's a question, it's a valid question. How do you inspire people?
Exactly, yeah.
But how? What is it that's making volunteers do what they do with so much of passion and intensity?
The businessmen are probably asking, where can I buy this?
They did. So what it is the joy of giving. When you discover, because in our lives, we are only concerned, most of the time we're concerned with taking, how to get. Our whole life is flowing from having to doing to being. But if you look at the way everything works in existence, nature, it's always from being to doing to having. We reverse this equation and we have blocked ourselves from experiencing the joy of giving, the joy of sharing, not giving anything physical, just offering yourself, offering your love, offering your joy to the world around you. So it's an immense, it's like the worst kind of drug, because once you taste this joy, it just makes you want to, do more for people. And it is not by changing anything in the content of your life. Most of our volunteers have their jobs, have their families. They don't come to the ashram full time, but that change the context of their lives. Instead of thinking that my job is just going and making sweaters and doing this and working with textiles, now I'm really thinking that this is a contribution. I'm making a contribution to the world in some way through my work.
What I understand from what you just said is you don't have bad people. It's just rewiring the people.
Yes, there is no such thing as bad people. This good and bad is a moral.
So the volunteers have been rewired themselves through the
Yes,
programs that you
big
have.
time. Yeah.
So you have a lot of volunteers at the foundation.
Yes, about 2,000 who are living there full time, and at least 2,000 to 3,000 on a day-to-day basis who come. Like, for example, now there's a program called Sadhanapada, which is a 7-month dedication of time towards their inner well-being. There's 800 people who are doing this program.
7 months.
7 months in the yoga center.
800.
Last year, it was the first time we opened this up officially. We had about 200 people. This year, we had 3,000 applications, but we could only take 800.
What did you do for 7 months?
Yoga and volunteering, a mix of offering yourself through work and doing your practices every day. In the charged ambience of the yoga center, which is what we call as a consecrated space. And it's free.
And it's free.
It's not, they don't pay anything. They just contribute in terms of action.
How do you sustain
Seva.
this?
I don't know. We have to ask the financial team in the ashram. It's actually quite complicated because the ashram, if you come and visit Isha Yoga Center, it looks so rich. It looks like a very aesthetically made place with gardens and pillars of stone with carvings. But because it's all done by volunteers, it's not like like the same thing that a hotel would spend. But at the same time, it looks rich, but it's not that rich. There's a big idea that all these spiritual places are super rich, and all the money that we use that we don't need for sustaining the place goes into these social projects that Sadhguru is really working hard at. In the sense, he says that a lot of the population, a huge percentage of the population in India and all over the world are still not getting enough to eat. You cannot go and talk spiritual process to someone who hasn't eaten enough, or someone whose children are still, not able to have a good life.
They should have the basic needs.
They should have, those basic needs should be fulfilled for someone to be even able to ask, who am I? Or to seek something higher than just material, physical existence. But it's very, it's like an endless thing. The first time I heard about the projects that Sadhguru had in mind, I thought, there's no way. I know how many volunteers we have. I know the finances. There's no way. This is in 2001. There is no way that we can reach out and make a difference to all these people who need support. But the beautiful thing about the social projects that he started is that he is not doing them. He is not going from village to village. It's human beings like you and me who have been inspired, whose lives have been touched. They stand up and become giants of individuals who do things much bigger than what they thought they could ever do in their lives.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, in the next episode, we can talk a little bit more about the social projects and where the Isha Foundation is going forward.
Yes.
Can you share a few words? Why you're in Mauritius this time? You're having a 4-day talk, right? In Phoenix. So what are you talking about?
So it's the same inner engineering that I did in 2001, the same program, a little different practices. But basically, this program has happened again with the drive and the intensity of the volunteers in Mauritius. I did not ask for this. They've been asking for the last 1 year, I think, asking Sadhguru to come here. They didn't want me. They just got me because he's too busy. But he's all over the world right now. His schedule has become too intense. So he's sending these, what we call as Ishangas. Ishanga means a limb of Isha.
Okay.
Because we don't like to identify as teachers, because really we have nothing to teach. We're only helping transmit this science. So they asked, Sadhguru said, okay, he gave his blessings, and we decided to start this. And they've been working wonderfully well. We haven't even published anything in newspaper, no advertising, no nothing, and the program is full now.
Yeah, it's sold out.
It's sold out. It's wonderful to see that people are seeking, people are wanting to know.
Definitely.
There's a thirst. So 4 days of inner exploration, and there's an introduction in the beginning to give an idea to people about what we're going to be doing in the next 4 days. It's
Well,
mostly questions and yoga.
make no mistake that Mauritius has a wonderful and beautiful energy.
Yes, I
And
know.
please tell Sadhguru. I know that he goes to all those places where he's needed.
Yes.
But tell him that Mauritius is the most India country outside India.
Yes.
And secondly, he has to visit paradise on earth.
Yes.
Well, it has been a pleasure having you for this episode
Thank
of
you so
Encounter.
much, Roshan.
Thank you very much. And please don't go away. We'll have a second episode. Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of this episode of Encounter. If you have any questions, proposals, suggestions, any questions on the guests or the topic discussed today, drop an email. It's encounter@nbc.itnet.mu. Until the very next program, goodbye.